The role of state government differ from local and national?
Well, the role of state government, I believe, has a very important role when you think about the impact that all of our communities, cities and counties have at the local level. A lot of times it takes state government to be the conduit to kind of bring all of these different conversations together. Some issues that happen at the city level are a lot different than that happen at the county level. And a lot of times you never want to have a piecemeal approach. So sometimes you want the state to be the convener that will then be the organization or the entity that says, okay, particular laws may affect everyone. But then again, there may be some laws that only affect coastal counties versus inland counties, coastal cities versus inland cities. And so a lot of times the state can be the convener that says, okay, what can we do to make sure that when we look at the entire state of Florida, we are focused on the issues that will affect the masses and not just individual communities. And then when you look at it at the federal level, what's most important is that, especially for a state like Florida being the largest swing state in presidential politics, a lot of times a lot of things that go on here in Florida will kind of reverberate throughout this country. And so goes Florida, so goes the rest of the country. There are only a few states that really have that dubious distinction. Ohio is one, California is another one because of its size and its diversity. Texas, again, because of its size. But when you think about Florida and you think about the very diverse populations that we have throughout the state, from the Haitians in the South Florida to the Native Americans and Seminole tribe, to the African Americans throughout the state, to our very senior population, our Jewish population, again, coastal communities. We have a very diverse set of constituencies that we have to serve as state representatives and state senators. And then taking that message to the federal level is even more important because we're just a microcosm of what the country looks like.
What legislation are you working on this session?
A few bills. One of the most important ones that I'm focused on, obviously, is pay raises for state employees. They've gone for a very, very long time without having a pay raise. And I think it's important as we come out of this great recession, the largest recession that we've ever faced as a country. The only thing that rivals it is the Great Depression of the early 1930s. And so, as we come out of this, we need to make sure that we're funding and paying our state employees commensurate with their skill level, but also where we are as a country and as we're looking at wages and wage disparity.
What's your proudest moment in government thus far?
My proudest moment in government, I believe, is engaging with young Floridians as they come to the Capitol, as I go out across the state to speak with them, because I'm hopeful that what I'm being able to communicate to them will inspire them to be leaders in our state and lead, further than I can even imagine. Today I stand on the shoulders of giants. I hope one day that my shoulders will be strong enough that other folks will be able to stand on those and see much further than I can, right? And I think that that's the most important thing that we can do as lawmakers. We can pass a lot of bills, we can pass a lot of, budgets and make sure we fund a lot of great programs. But if we're not leaving a pathway for future leaders to follow, then we're doing ourselves a disservice. And so I'm excited about that.
What advice do you have for teenagers voting for the first time in this next election cycle?
Educate yourselves. For those who are looking to vote for the first time, educate yourself. Whether you are someone who is very progressive or someone who is very conservative. In this upcoming election, I will tell you that educate yourself is the most important thing you can do. And then also make sure you're getting your other friends registered to vote. I think the biggest problem that we have is that a lot of folks want to complain about the process. They want to complain about things that impact them on a daily basis. But if they're not registered to vote, then their complaining goes in vain. But if they are registered to vote and they still don't vote, that's just as bad. So, I would encourage our our young folks to be engaged, be educated, and make sure that they are focused on the issues and not all of the shiny objects that come along with campaigns. Make sure you're supporting someone that believes in you, someone that is genuinely engaged in the community, and someone who focuses on making sure that they put the people first and the politics way behind.
Okay, what is your day-to-day routine during session and outside of session?
Oh man, day to day, being the local representative, I get up, I take my kids, to school, and I do chores like my wife tells me to. But at the same time, I have to get here because I have meetings that my office sets for me to make sure that we're meeting with the constituents from our community and really from around the state of Florida that are here during session, to make sure that we're touching base with them on those issues. And when I can't meet with them, I have a very capable and competent staff that make sure that I get the information from them whenever possible. And then it's off to committees. We're voting and we're passing bills that will ultimately make their way to the floor. And then at some point we're on the floor debating these bills that we've voted on in committee. Some of them I'm only seeing for the first time as they make their way to the floor, because I'm not on every committee, and so you have to really educate yourself on the bills that are coming to the floor and make sure you are ready to vote and debate and vote on those as they make their way to the floor and as you send them either to the Senate or to the governor for final signature.
Okay. Will government differ from state and national?
Closer to the people, and you actually can go and see the places that will be affected by any decision you make. You get to meet the people that are affected by the decisions you make, and you get to hear directly from them about how those impacts will affect them, and it really helps to make a much better decision, I think, because of that. Jack would like to answer some questions also.
How do you think our governmental system could be improved?
Oh gosh, more public involvement, and that it's very hard to. It's hard to make that happen. You can't literally just go and say, "Oh, we want more public involvement," and it takes. It isn't just a government initiative. It's an initiative on the part of the people. I think that when we had a big talk last year about the budget, and a lot of people were involved in the conversation, but I still don't think that the city had done a good enough job to keep people through the years, literally, keep people aware of the different funds that are in our government, and the way the utilities work versus the way the general fund works and is funded, and so on and so forth. So it came as this big surprise when we got into the issue of property taxes, which only fund the general fund, and the fact that some of the departmental budgets exceeded all property taxes that were collected. None of this had been communicated to the public at large, and then all of a sudden there was this big tax increase that was proposed, and it just seemed to come out of nowhere. That's a lack of communication on our part. And really it was trying to hold the community harmless and not have anybody worry in years before, but nobody knew of the cuts that had been made or anything like that. So I think that the two-way communication, the communication on the part of the city and part on our part, is to trying to help, is to explain to people how this all works and make it easy for them then to take part in the conversation.
Advice do you have for teenagers voting for the first time in this next election cycle?
Get to know your candidates. There are opportunities, especially on the local level, but even on the state level. There are plenty of opportunities. We have forums that you can go to and you can actually talk to the people and meet them. The League of Women Voters does a fabulous website where they expose different views that the candidates have. And that's the most important thing. And then vote. I mean, really try to find out who the people are, not necessarily how they stand on this issue or that. That's important. But who are they? I mean, we have a lot of conversations about ethics in government. find out who the only way to control ethics in government is to elect somebody that is ethical. And so try to get to know people and see who gives you the most confidence, where you feel that this is the right person, and that would be my advice, not just to young people, but to everybody.
What is your day-to-day routine?
Well, some days I get to work at home, just like today. And some days I have lunch appointments. And then other days we have 12-hour days where we have a blueprint meeting and a transportation planning agency meeting and a working group meeting. And there are certain days that are just, we'll have 2 or 3 days like that in a row. My job is essentially, this particular position is supposed to be part-time. And that means that I'm a little older than my colleagues, and so I'm not still working in my field anymore. But all of them are. They're out there earning a living, and they have a real job. Well, not real jobs, but they have real jobs. So, how you quote that? But they're out there earning a living by necessity, and I think that because of that, we have certain weeks that are very light and then other weeks that are very, very challenging to just keep up with all of the information that you have to cover before you go into the meeting in order to make a good decision.
How does local government work with state government?
We have lobbyists. We're unique in the sense that we have access to the Capitol right across the street. So oftentimes the League of Cities will ask one of us to go across the street to speak or present a point of view of a statewide organization in the hearings that they have over there. We certainly all work very closely with Gwen Graham. Her office is in our City Hall, with Alan Williams, with Michelle Vasalinda, with Halsey Brashears. I mean, we know all of these folks, and we talk to them regularly. So that's the best we can do, I think, other than just to camp over across the street sometimes on issues.
Okay, that's it.